Hey everybody, it's Scooby here. So today I'm going to be teaching you how to make your very own borax crystals at home. So before I get into talking about all the different resources that you're going to need, I just wanted to highlight the importance of adult supervision for this activity. Because we are using borax and because we are going to be boiling water, it is very important to have an adult figure around you just in case anything were to happen. They could help you out with pouring the hot water. They could help you with scooping the borax, just to make sure that you're taking every precaution. So for this activity, you're going to need an assortment of pipe cleaners. So I've got 4 different pipe cleaners here. In a little bit, I'm going to show you the different shapes that we're going to be making because these are going to be the basis of our crystals, okay? You are also going to need some thread. Now I'm just using sewing thread because it is very thin, as you can see. You will also need scissors because we will need to cut off a pretty decent sized length of thread that we are going to tie our crystals, or sorry, not our crystals, our pipe cleaners to. With that being said, you'll need something for them to hang off of. So I'm just using popsicle sticks for this. You could also use a wooden dowel, or if you had pencils, whatever you have on hand. You will also need some jars. Now I'm just using salsa jars that I cleaned out, took the label off. So you don't necessarily need to go out and buy your own jars. You can use whatever you have laying around the house. So like I said, we are going to be boiling water, so that means you will need a pot with a lid. You are also going to need a measuring cup to help measure out your water for your borax solution. You will also need borax, of course, as well as a tablespoon to scoop. So for every cup of water, you're going to need 3 to 4 tablespoons of borax. So I'm going to walk you through everything step by step to make sure that everything is super clear. Next thing you'll need is a spoon or a fork just so that you can stir in the borax as you're adding it to the water so that it helps dissolve it a lot faster. You will need plastic wrap because after we pour in our solution, put our pipe cleaners into our jars, we're going to want to seal the top so that it traps all of the heat inside and can help crystallize our pipe cleaners. And finally, you're going to need some paper towel because after you wait a night for them to crystallize, you're going to take them out of their container and then you're going to just lay them flat out on some paper towel to help them dry. All right, so let's get to it. So I'm going to start with creating our pipe cleaner shapes. I'm just going to move the camera down so I can show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I think we will start with, let's move all our stuff aside we don't need. We will start with the yellow. I am going to make a circle for this. So I'm going to start at one end, fold it in, and you want to make sure that when you're folding it, you're keeping it as tight as possible because we don't want there to be any holes in our pipe cleaners because if we have holes, then the crystals won't form properly or they may not even form at all. So I'm just going to go ahead and tightly wind this pipe cleaner up. All the way. Okay. And then you just want to go ahead and make sure that there aren't any holes. Everything looks Good. So there's our circle. Next one I'm going to make a triangle. So we're going to bend it down in the middle. And then bend this side. And then bend this side. Okay, so we've got our triangle. And then we're going to start to feed this through. So I'm just going to go underneath like that. Hook it to this side, pull it through, pull it through a bit, and then we're going to do the same thing on this side. Push it through, pull it, push it through, pull it, and push it through. Okay, doing our best to make sure there aren't any holes. They're gonna get in the way. Perfect. Okay, so that's our triangle. I can set that to the side. Next one we're going to use our purple. We're just going to make a long sort of twisted one. So you're going to fold it in half. Getting a nice point at the top. And then all we're going to do is twist. Twist in. Twist in, twist in. All the way like that, and then we're just going to fold it in half again and twist it one more time. Make sure the top is all filled in. So this one's gonna be pretty cool. It's gonna be like an icicle. Okay, and the last one we can make a little square. So we'll bend it in half like that. Bend it down here. Bend it over here. Should be good like that. Okay, so now you've got it like that. We're going to twist this one up. And the same thing we did with our triangle. We're just going to weave sort of in and out as best we can here. Same thing on this side. I'm gonna have to make this one smaller. And that's okay too. Just takes a little bit of practice. Just want to make sure you're getting the right shape that you would like. So let's try and make this one smaller if we can. Okay. I think that should be better. Okay. Feed this through like we were doing. and then this side too. And if we don't like that, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to bend this part down. We still kind of have a square. It's a little bit oval, but that's okay. It'll still look really neat at the end. Okay, so that's our square. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to take our thread. I'm going to take a decent amount, probably about a little bit more than that much. I'm going to cut 4 of them. And I'm just going to use this string to cut the rest of them so that they're all the same length. And one more. So you just want to have as many pieces of thread per pipe cleaners. So since I have 4 pipe cleaners, I'm going to need 4 pieces of thread because that's what they're going to be hanging from. Okay. Okay, I got 1. We'll put the rest to the side and we will let's grab our icicle first. Okay, so what you're going to do, I'm just going to sort of unravel it a little bit, and in between, you're just going to insert your piece of thread. So see, it's in there like that, and then I'm just going to hold it and retwist it so that we kind of can fill in that gap. Okay, here we go. And then you're going to tie it off. Pull up. Tie a knot. It can get a little bit tricky because the thread is so thin. So if you are finding it difficult to get it through your pipe cleaner, you can always use a sewing needle. Now, if you're using a sewing needle, again, make sure you have adult supervision so that you don't accidentally hurt yourself. Okay, and then we're going to tie it off. Like that. I'm just going to double knot it to make sure that it is going to stay. Okay, and then you're going to cut away the excess string where you tied your knot. So I'm just going to cut right here. You want to cut enough off. Oh my goodness. There we go. But you don't want to cut so much that you cut off your knot, which I did not. Haha. Knot. Okay. So that's sturdy. We're going to set that one to the side. And then we're just going to continue to add thread to the rest of ours. All right, so now that all of our pipe cleaner shapes are finished and attached to their thread, we are now going to attach them to our popsicle sticks. So we will put this guy, all I'm gonna do is flip this over like so. And underneath we are going to tie. Just like that. Tie another knot. Just to make sure it is sturdy and it will not fall off once the solution is in the jar. We're just going to tie a bunch of knots. Okay. And then I'm just going to wrap this around. And you can make it loose enough so that you can move it or like move your pipe cleaner around once you set it in the jar. Okay, so that looks good. And then we're just going to continue doing that on this side with our next shape, which will be our circle. So once again, setting it on its back, slipping this underneath, tying it off. Okay, and then we can lift it up and we can see that the knot is underneath like the other one. And then we're just going to do the same thing, spin it around till they are at a nice length. And then we're just going to do the exact same thing with the second popsicle stick. All right, so you will have something that looks like this. So now that our pipe cleaners are prepared, we're gonna head on over to the kitchen and I'm going to show you how to make the solution. Okay, so now that I'm in the kitchen, I'm going to use my my cup and I'm going to fill 6 cups of water into my pot. The purpose is because we're going to use 3 cups of the solution per jar that we're using, okay? So I just want to make sure that I'm making more than enough that will fill both of the containers, probably a little over 3/4 of the way full. So I'm going to go ahead and start measuring out my water. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so now we have our water. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this over on the stove. Okay, so now that we're at the stove, we are going to put our pot on our burner. Move our borax out of the way because we don't need it right now. And we're going to set it on high because we want our water to boil. So we are just going to go ahead, set our on high. There we go. And we're just going to let that boil. Okay, so now that our water has boiled, I'm going to take off the lid, turn off the burner, and I'm going to set it to the side because it doesn't need to be on the heat anymore. Okay, so if you remember, like I said at the beginning of this video, for every cup of water, you're going to need 3 to 4 tablespoons of borax. So doing some math here, I've used 6 cups of water, so I'm going to need to put in 18 tablespoons of borax, okay? So I'm going to start doing that now. Every tablespoon I put in, I'm going to follow up by stirring the solution with a spoon. The reason why is because we want to make sure that all of our borax dissolves in our solution, because once it dissolves, it'll be able to help crystallize our pipe cleaners. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that now. So first scoop. Here's 1 tablespoon. Grab our spoon that we're stirring and stir it all around, getting it all dissolved. And once you can see the bottom of your pot, you can add in another scoop. So we're going for our 2nd tablespoon here. And then you're just going to continue that process until you add all of your tablespoons of borax. So I've got 16 more to go, and I will meet up with you in a little bit, okay? Okay, so now we've got our borax solution. I am just going to move this back over here. Okay, so I've already got my jars prepped. They are in the sink right now. I'm just going to grab an oven mitt because I don't want to burn myself, so I would suggest using an oven mitt as well. So, oven mitt, carefully walk on over. Ooh, I found a hair that looked kind of gross, so I'm going to take that out. Okay, and then all you're going to do is just, here we go. I'm just going to pour it in the sink, and then I'll lift it out and show you what it's looking like. A little bit isn't 100% dissolved, so I'm just gonna give that a little swoosh around. Okay, we're done with this, so I'm just gonna rinse it out. Okay, so now that I have poured my solution out, that is what it looks like. So I'm just gonna set it right here. Move this like this so you can see what I am doing. Perfect, okay. Don't mind this mess over here. Okay, so next we're going to grab our popsicle sticks with our pipe cleaners, and I had to adjust them so that they were about this length. I don't want them to touch the sides or the bottom of our container because once the crystals start to form, they'll get sort of stuck. So you want to make sure that they're short enough so that they're just floating in the water a little bit off of the bottom, probably about that much. So I'm just going to carefully dunk them in, and you can always maneuver them a little bit into the position that you like. So no one's touching. All good. I think we're good here. Yeah, okay, that one's good. And they're doing the same thing with this one. Move the strings in the middle a little bit more if you need to. Okay. I might roll this one more time. Maybe not. Okay, perfect. All right, and then we're going to take our plastic wrap, just enough to cover them. You just want to cover them so that it contains all of the heat inside. We're going to do the same with this one. Containing all the heat, making sure that it's nice and sturdy. Okay, and then you just want to leave them in a nice safe spot where nothing will get to it. And it'll be able to crystallize without any issues. So then we're just gonna go ahead and leave these overnight, and I will show you what they look like in the morning. This is what our crystals are looking like. I've had them sitting overnight, probably for well over 12 hours. We're going to remove them from the jar, and we're going to place them out onto some paper towel. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so I'm gonna start with this one. This is sand. Take them out nice and slow so you can see. So those look awesome. How shiny they are. So we're just going to, I have two pieces of paper towel here. We're just going to set them down so that all of the solution that has been collecting on the outside of the paper towels, oh my goodness, the pipe cleaners, can sort of just absorb into the paper towel, and it'll help dry them out a lot faster. So there's one of them. Here is the other one. Awesome. down. And then I'm just going to go ahead and remove everything from the popsicle stick. Okay, so I just moved myself to a table so that it would be a lot easier for you to see. I'm going to grab my scissors. So I realized that I tied the string too tight, so it's going to be a lot more difficult to just slide it off. So what I'm going to do is simply just cut it away. And because the thread we used is thin enough, you're not going to be able to see it, which is pretty cool. And I did have to add another piece of paper towel because I noticed the one that I was using, well, the two that I was using, were getting very damp. So I just simply added another one underneath. And when you notice that one's damp, you can just completely get rid of it and replace it with a new one because you want to make sure all the moisture is completely out of the crystal so that it sort of hardens a lot better. Okay, so now we can just get rid of this to the side. And we're going to do the exact same thing with this one. Simply cut and cut. Okay, so we can get rid of those. The last thing that we are going to do, because I said that they need time to dry, we are going to put them in a well-lit room or a windowsill so that they can dry properly. I think everything's good. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and throw these out, and then I am going to show you where I'm going to put these to dry. Okay, so I picked this nice bright windowsill. It's going to hang out with all my flowers that I have over here. I know that this spot gets a lot of sun, so I know that the heat from the sun will help to dry up our crystals. So I'm going to leave 4 to 6 hours, 6 hours at most, and then we will check on them, and I'm going to explain to you how the whole chemistry of it all works, okay? Okay, here are our crystals after they've been sitting in our windowsill for about 6 hours. I'm going to explain to you how this process actually works. So our borax crystals were actually an example of a chemical reaction. It's the borax reacting to the hot water. It also has to do with solubility, which is the ability of a substance or the solute, and in this case, which is the borax, to mix into a liquid, which would be the solvent. What this means is that more borax may be dissolved in hot water than in cold water. So if a hot saturated mixture is cooled, there's more borax contained by the cold water, causing the borax to fall out of the mixture and form crystals. So, as you can see, they look pretty snowy. I think the reason why they are so cloudy looking is because the borax didn't dissolve very well in the water. But luckily, I did a pre-test before I made these, and the ones that I made did have the right amount of mixture in them, so they did dissolve properly. So what that means is to just be aware of the mixture as you are creating it. Just to take your time and make sure that everything is completely dissolved, like all the borax is dissolved in the hot water, because if it's not, it'll turn out kind of snowy and cloudy like this, which doesn't look bad, but if you want to make a crystal that looks like a crystal, then you want to be sure that all of the borax is completely dissolved in the hot water. So I just wanted to thank you guys for checking out this video. If you want to make your own borax crystals, we would love to see them. Be sure to tag us on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, @Greenway-Chaplin.